Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We have come to the end of the subtitles or discussion in our course outline, and this title is, inclined to legal perspective on how Islam give rights to the non-Muslims. It's not philosophical in that sense. It's more dealing about the legal aspects of dealing with the non-Muslims, and living in coexistence with the non-Muslims. So I'm going to simplify my discussion into two slides. So let me share with you the slides. Yeah. Um, all right. So what about the rights of non-Muslims in Islam? Yeah. Um, so hold on, let me share with you the slides. Right. So basically, from the perspective of Islam, there is no restrictions in terms of having the non-Muslims to live in the uh, together with the non-Muslims or living in the Muslims majority country. Yeah. As a matter of fact, the relationship between Muslims and non-Muslims are outlined in the Quran as well as in the Hadith of the Prophet and his Sunnah. So we have seen also in the Sunnah of the Prophet that non-Muslims are given rights. They are free to interact with the Muslims. They have their rights, yeah? And justice is also what you call that, code, yeah, to them. There is a sense of tolerance and respect for their belief, for what they believe, and they are given the freedom to believe in what they believe. As we have mentioned earlier, that whenever Muslims had to dialogue or with the people of other religions, Muslims are aspired to dialogue with them with wisdom, uh, with goodly advice, good words, and better argument. Yeah. So this is what it meant by gracious disputations. And Muslims are also to be relate themselves with the non-Muslim, whether or not they are Ahlul Kitab or they are not Ahlul Kitab. So basically, the typology of the non-Muslims, given the Quran, within these two typology, Ahlul Kitab and non-Ahlul Kitab, whereby the Quran demarcates them for the purpose of telling, the very significant relation between Muslims and Ahlul Kitab from the historical perspective. Yeah. Um, and there is also some special legal provisions with regard to the Muslims relationship to Ahlul Kitab, in the sense that Muslims are allowed to marry, a Muslim man is allowed to marry non-Muslim Ahlul Kitab. Yeah. And the Muslims are also allowed to eat from the slaughtering of Ahlul Kitab. I'm not going to debate here who are the Ahlul Kitab. That may need another discourse to explain, because there's a lot of debate whether Ahlul Kitab exists today or not, or whether it ceased to exist after the time of Prophet Muhammad. Yeah. Uh, but all in all, this is what the Quran says and what the Hadith have been teaching the Muslims with regard to our relationship to the non-Muslims. Yeah. Um, Now from a legal perspective, also we found that the fuqaha, or the jurists in the past until today, have developed several ijtihads that helps the Muslims in their dealing with the Ahlul Kitab. So you find that in the glossaries of fiqh, in terms of Muslims dealing with the non-Muslims, there are terms like Ahlul Zimmah. Yeah? Ahlul Zimmah means the people of whom Muslims have to the responsibility to shoulder towards, yeah, So Muslims have to take care of their well-being, have to take care of their property, have to take care of their dignity, and have to confirm their freedom to practice or to believe and to practice their belief. And then also the jurists have developed fiqh al-aqaliyat. What is fiqh al-aqaliyat? Fiqh with regard to the minority. Some of the Muslim countries where the Muslims are dominant and non-Muslims are minority. So there is a system in governance advised by our jurists on how to deal with the minorities. And the contemporary fiqh that we have if you have been exposed with all these terms, it's quite interesting that in the past maybe we have a very clear demarcations of Darul Harb, Darul Islam, and Darul Kufr. So these are no longer relevant until today. So the jurists have developed new fiqh in dealing with the non-Muslims living with the Muslims majority country. So we have terms like fiqh al-muwafana, how to deal with the Ahlul Watan, the people of citizen, because now we are living in a pluralistic society. So every man is a citizen, yeah. And how do we deal with the non-Muslims living in the same country? So the contemporary jurists developed fiqh al-muwafana, yeah, uh, how the non-Muslims pay respect and do their responsibilities to the country, yeah, especially if the non-Muslims living in a majority Muslims country. Uh, and we know that today we do not have an explicit Islamic country the way it was before. Yeah, and also the contemporary fuqaha have developed fiqh at-ta'ayush. Fiqh at-ta'ayush is the fiqh of coexistence, fiqh of living together, fiqh of living with the non-Muslims, taking into considerations that we are now living in a global village. So this fiqh at-ta'ayush not only consider the context of coexistence in one state, but also in the context of global existence. Yeah, sorry about that. And then finally, also there is a fiqh called as fiqh at-ta'amul. Yeah, ta'amul from the words mu'amalat. How do we deal with? Now we go one step further, not only in terms of coexistence, but also in terms of our dealings with the non-Muslims. Yeah. So what are the ethics or the adab or the legal bearings on the Muslims to deal with the non-Muslims? Now, there is also another avenue within fiqh that explain uh, uh, the ways how Islam, you know, uh, protect the non-Muslims, living together with the Muslims. It is called Maqasid al-Sharia of Ash-Shatibi. Ash-Shatibi developed this Maqasid al-Sharia, and under this Maqasid al-Sharia, the law of Islam is expected to protect not only Muslims but humankind as a whole. So these are among the rights of the non-Muslims that fall under the Maqasidus Sharia. All right, so there are five items, yeah, that become the responsibilities of Muslims living with the non-Muslims. So first is the right of non-Muslims to believe, yeah, to believe, to express their belief, and to practice religion, because from a legal perspective, faith is not a matter of coercion. So there is no point of coercing or forcing someone to become Muslim if he does not have genuine faith or genuine belief in the religion that he professes. So sincerity is something pertinent in terms of one's personal conviction. So if a non-Muslim choose to believe in what they believe, they are liable to it. Secondly, to celebrate religious festivals, yeah, um, and these festivals, including whatever religions they are, for example, uh, the Christians can celebrate their festivals, but of course, I mean, during Salat time, not only the Christians or not only people of other religions, uh, do not carry on whatever activities they are doing. Even Muslims themselves during the Salat time, we slow down the radio, we pause for a while whenever we have programs, discourse, and we give we pay respect to the azan, and then this is understandable also why certain festivals have to pay respect for this, because um, this is for Muslims also, they have the right to practice their religion and to celebrate their festivals and to conduct their rituals. Now, it's not wrong for the Christians to perhaps, they some rituals may need them to carry cross during the parades and whatsoever. So this is not prohibited in Islam. Yeah. And also, the non-Muslims are given the freedom to build their places of worship. Yeah. And the fuqaha say that as long as it is not in the Muslim settlements, and I think this is logical to understand, because I mean the worship place is supposed to be the worship place for the Christians or for the particular religion, so there is no point of building it at the Muslim settlement. And even the fuqaha goes to the extent that they are allowed certain funding from the government, yeah. And also, the fuqaha allows the people of other religions to find ways on how to survive, and how to sustain under the Muslim country, under the Muslims, living with the Muslims. Yeah? So they can have their own education system, they can have religious classes, they can even have seminars, conferences, and meetings. So there is no restriction in terms of them developing their generations and teaching their generations about religion. And even to the extent that the fuqaha allow the non-Muslims, so they have to have their own court of justice. And this is very clearly implied in the way Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam deal with the Jews. At one point of time, the Jews came to the Prophet and complained about the sin committed uh, you know um, by their members. Yeah. And the Prophet asked from them, what is the punishment in Judaism? And the Jews were then, had to refer to what the Torah said about that particular crime. And the Prophet allowed them to practice as what mentioned in the Torah. So this is an evidence of why the non-Muslims can have their own court of justice to discuss their affairs, even though they are living together with the Muslims. And this has been also carried out during the time of the Khulafa al-Rashidin. So, with this explanation, I think it is clear towards us, how, from the perspective of Islam, that living in coexistence and living in plurality is not a major problem for Muslims, and that does not sacrifice us to what you call that, to give in the context of our belief, in the context of our conception of the truth, because our conception of the truth can remain as long as we do not force it onto others, to the non-Muslims. Because why? Because believing and conviction is supposed to be a matter of freedom and choice by man, because this is what the Quran assigned man to be, to believe in him, by choice, yeah, by freedom and not by design. If we Muslims force others to believe in what we believe, then that is, the purpose of the creation of man is void. Because as we have mentioned just now, man has to believe by choice, yeah, has to believe by his own will, has to believe by his own, reasoning, not by forcing. Yeah. So, having said that, what I would like to say in this final report is that, from the perspective of Islam, the Quran has speaks very clearly. The Hadith and the Sunnah of the Prophets also have explicitly showing examples on how to live within the pluralistic society, and to the extent that we discussed just now, that from the legal perspectives also, the Quran, the Fuqaha have no problems of accepting living together with the non-Muslims. So I guess it's very clear to our mind now that Islam and Muslims have never had problems, yeah, uh, living in coexistence. Yeah. So, we, I mean, religious pluralism is not the case for Muslim, because the teachings in the Quran, the teachings in the Hadith, and the way the Sharia address the non-Muslims did not make a Muslim an exclusivist person. Yeah. Um, so to sum up, religious pluralism cannot be compatible to the context of Islam, because all the requirements for living together, living in coexistence, freedom of belief is there in the fundamental teachings of Islam. So thank you very much, and I hope you have learned something from my very short, my short videos. There are 18 videos altogether, and may Allah give us His tawfiq and hidayah in searching for His truth. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.